Okay, Emma, so we are going to start with that 1 through 13 that you have, and we have r squared. Number one says find r squared. Well, of course, we need to put those, your table right there, into your lists. So I downloaded the TI-84 app on my iPad, so we'll see how well this works. It should be easier than me having to try to take a video of my calculator. You need, of course, you need to put those in. So we go to Stat and we go to Edit. And in L1, I put the distance, okay? And in L2, you will see that I have the fare. Now, one other thing that you need to do, if your calculator lets you, and it should, you can turn on those wizards, those stat wizards in there, and they do give you quite a bit of other information in there. If you'll go to Mode, and you will go, if you'll just start going down, you will see a stat diagnostics. Make sure you click on and turn that on. And then there'll be stat wizards, and make sure your stat wizards are on. And that will actually give you the answers to several of these, okay? At least 1, 3, 4, and 5, okay? So if I go to second quit, and now I go to stat, and I want to calc, if I go over down to linear regression, okay, and this says, okay, the X list is L1, my Y's are in L2, okay, and I hit enter. Notice I didn't tell it to store anything anywhere. We'll come back to that in a minute. And it gives me Y equals AX plus B in that form because that's what I picked. My slope should be 0.0786190275. My y-intercept is that B of 177.21452. And r squared is your 0.482, which you did get that correct. Okay, so number one, you had that one correct. That was 0.482. And I tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to go over here. I'm going to go back to my calculator, and I'm going to take a screenshot of that if I can, if it'll do it for me. I'm not sure with me running it. Now, I'm going to save that. And let me go over here. I'm usually not this disorganized. I apologize. And I'm going to set this over here. Well, so my old eyes can see it. I better come down here and blow this up. I'm kind of old, Emma. Okay, there we go. So I'm getting r squared to be what you got, 0.482. Okay, then and we'll explain what r squared means in just a minute in this context. Then it says find the slope of the regression line. Okay, so my slope should be, I'm getting 0.078619. I need it to not think I'm wanting to do something with the picture. 0.078619. On my y-intercept, I'm getting 177.214. I'm not sure how many decimal places he has you write this out to. Okay, and then it says write the equation of the linear model. So that's going to give me y equals 0.078619x plus 177.2145 approximately. Okay, and yeah, I just got my calculator to tell me all that. I'm not sure if you were putting it in the calculator or not. You had the correct R squared. These days, it seems that they automatically turn the wizard off on 84s, but you can turn it back on. Okay, if we, number 8, I want to jump to number 8 because that's on the calculator also. It says using those estimates, draw the line on the scatter plot. Okay, so if I go back over to my calculator, I can actually make it store it there. So if I do this same operation here again, I say stat, I go over to calc, and I want a linear regression. Okay, frequency list, that's fine. Store the regression equation in if I go to vars, and then I say function, and it's because I don't have the paid version here, and I say store it in Y1. Okay, I need to change my window to pretty much what my lowest and highest values are there. So my X minimum, I'm just going to call it 0. I know this goes up to XY's about 2200. Okay, I'm going to use a scale of 100. I'm going to count by 100s. My X minimum, my Y minimum, I'm sorry, I'm going to put 0. And my Y max, I'm going to put up to about 500. This time I'm going to count it by a scale of 50. And I'm not sure how much he shows you to do on the calculator. But I would suggest, since you do have a calculator for it, that you use the calculator as much as you can there. And then I'm going to say graph. And, I didn't turn my stat plot on. So go to, that's my bad, second Y equals. And we're going to turn that stat plot on. Okay, let's graph. There's my dot plot, and that's what you see pretty much in your picture right there. If I go to Y equals, why didn't that store that in? Okay, so it's telling me it didn't store. I didn't hit enter. Okay, now you have to hit enter after you put it in Y1, and I graph it, and you can see it goes through those lines. Okay, so when it's wanting a picture of that, number 8 says using those estimates, draw the line on the scatter plot. Well, it actually wants you to use the estimates from 6 and 7, okay? But we can do that. It says estimate the fare for a 200-mile flight. So the distance is 200. So if I go to my table now, and if you can tell it to actually ask, okay, we can do a format. So do second zoom. Nope. Do second window and independent. So on number 6, we want to say we want to ask. All right. And then we're going to go back to second table, and we want 200. And it's giving me 192.93. So about $192 is what it's saying. Estimate the fare for a 200-mile flight, $192.93. Okay, then it says estimate the fare for a 2,000-mile flight. Okay, that's $334.45. Now, it says, using those estimates, draw the line on the scatter plot. Okay, so you could actually, once we have those, let's go back over here. So I've got 200 with 192.93. So 200 with 192.93. And then I have 2,000. What did 2,000 tell me? 2,000, went away. 2,000 told me 334.45. 334.45. 334.45. Let's see what we had up there. Somewhere around 2,000. Yeah, 2150 was $343. Okay, so it wants me to use those points. Well, that was the point 200, comma 192.93, and then it was 2,000. Okay, 334.45. Well, I'm going to use my calculator and I'm going to make a regression on this, and I'm going to store it in Y2. So I'm going to go over here to Stat. I'm going to go to Edit, but this time I'm going to go to L3. And what did we have? We had 200, and then we had, what, 2,000? Okay, and 200 was at 192.93. And then 2,000 was at 334.45. Okay. And I want to go back to Stat. I want to calc a linear regression number 4, but instead of L1 here, I want L3 and L4. Whoops. See if it'll, I don't think it's going to do that. Let me see how, okay, blue 4. There we go. And then I want to store regression in Y2 this time. So I'm going to go to vars, function, not this. Nope. Okay, I've got to, it needs to go away. Sorry about that, Emma. And I need to store it in Y2. Note to self, get the paid version. Hit enter. Okay. So it's telling me now that it has stored it in Y2. Let's look. Let's go to graph. Let's look at Y equals. It's going to be in red. Do I not have, is it the same one? Let's turn off, you know how to turn this off? Plot 1. Nope, plot 1's fine. Let's see if I can make it turn off. I don't see my blue line in there. Okay. I think my red line is my blue line there. It says using those estimates, draw the line on the scatter plot. We did that. It says explain what the y-intercept means in this context. Well, that's the same as what? The y-intercept here is telling me, what's it saying here? Y's are the fare, okay, and so the y-intercept is when I go 0 miles, they would still charge me that much money. What did they say that equation was? $177.20. Okay, that's what that B is. So we can say the y-intercept represents the amount of money it would cost just to are we flying? What are we doing here? Just to book a flight. Pretty much is what it's saying, because the distance to Baltimore is 568 with a cost of $219. And so what this is telling me is wherever it hits the y-axis is, okay, I've gone 0 miles, but they're still going to charge me $177. And however much cents. What was that? 177.21 approximately. Let's put what that is. Y equals, they're only charging about 8 cents a mile, 0.0786. What was it? Tell me again. 177.21, we're going to say. 0.21, okay. It says, what does the slope mean in this context? In this context, it means that the slope represents the cost per mile to travel. So they're charging me pretty much 8 cents a mile to travel because it's 0.078. Okay. This is the fare to fly to Los Angeles, 1,719 miles from Atlanta, is $212. Okay. Find the residual. Okay, this is actually what? Above or below. So if I find $719 right here, or 1,719 miles, that's $252. So this is below. The residual is what? So that's going to be the 252 minus the 212. Okay, so that's going to give me 40. It's $40 off. Okay. $40 is the residual. In general, a positive residual means